like to call this meeting of the Town of Sheffield Board of Selectmen to order for June 21st, 2022. Our colleague Nadine Hover is not feeling well, so she will not be with us tonight. Our first order of business is to let you know that this is being recorded by CTSB. Thank you, CTSB. And if anyone wants to record the meeting, you may do so after informing the chair. So our first order of business is approval of meeting minutes. We have one set from June 2nd, 2022.
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes from June 2nd, 22.
I'll make that a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Our second order of business is that we have a number of appointments to make to various committees and commissions here at the town. We'll also be next making some announcements for appointments at the next meeting in early July. So, all of these are for 3-year appointments unless stated otherwise. And why don't I just read them? We have Agricultural Commission, Richard McLaughlin. I want to let you know that there's still 3 vacancies on that commission. Casey Keeley for 1-year appointments to Animal Control Officer and Animal Inspector. Lou Levine for an appointment 3-year to the Ashley Falls Historic District Commission. There is still 1 vacancy on that. BRPC Delegate for 1 year, Renee Wood. 3-year Board of Assessors, Tammy Blackwell. Still 1 vacancy after this. Board of Health, there's 4 vacancies, and we have Eileen Clark, Lauren Hyde, Pat Levine, and Josh Webb. Board of Registrars, Eileen Clark. Building Inspector, 1 year, Paul Green. Cemetery Commission, 3-year, Tammy Blackwell. Commission on Disabilities, Lower Grunfield, there's still 1 vacancy left on that. Conservation Commission, 1 year, Renee Wood. Alternate for the Conservation Commission, 1 year, George O'Lean, and there will still be 1 vacancy after that. Constable, Bruce Person and Jim McGarry, 1-year terms. Council on Aging, 3 years, Jillian Hettinger, there'll be still 1 vacancy. Electrical Wiring Inspector, 1 year, Michael Lining. 5-Town Cable Advisory, 3-year, Renee Wood. There's still 2 left. The only person on that committee, so we can use 2 others. Gas and Piping as 1 year, Robert Krupski. Gas and Piping Inspector Assistant, Robert Gennari. That's also for 1 year. 1 year Parking Clerk, Phyllis C. Joyce. 1 year Planning Board Alternate Member, Pat Levine. Plumbing Inspector, 1 year, Robert Krupski. Alternate or Assistant Plumbing Inspector, 1 year, Robert Gennari. Recycling Coordinator, 1 year, Renee Wood. Town Council, 1 year, KP Law. Veterans Agent, 1 year, Lori Hills. Zoning Board of Appeal, that's 3-year term, Catherine Miller. After this, there will still be 1 vacancy. My name is on here a bit. I would love to have someone take over the 5-Town Cable Advisory, and I would step off that committee as soon as someone comes forward. So, and Bob, what would you like to do with all of this list?
I would like to appoint as announced.
Okay, so that's a motion to appoint, and I will second that. Is there any further discussion?
No.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. George, do you know, have you had a chance to send a letter or get Rhonda the letter on the BRPC delegate, which has to be a planning board member?
Oh, we're going to do that tomorrow night.
Good, thank you very much. Okay, now our next item is announcements. These are additional people who have come forward to to fill open positions since we read the last names that we just appointed at a previous meeting. So these will be just announcements, and then we will appoint at the next meeting in early July. So there's still time to get your name in. Agricultural Committee or Commission, there'll be 2 vacancies left. Jim Kelly. We still need 2 alternates for the Agricultural Commission in addition to 2 full-time members. Ashley Falls Historic District Commission, Sandra Preston. We still need 1 person for the Ashley Falls Historic District Commission, an alternate. We just heard that the Planning Board is going to take care of the BRPC delegate at their meeting tomorrow. We still have 1 vacancy, Board of Assessors, 1 vacancy, Commission on Disabilities, 1 vacancy on alternate for Conservation Commission, 1 vacancy for Council on Aging, 3 vacancies for Cultural Council. We have a vacancy for the Electrical Inspector Assistant. We have Emergency Management Coordinator, 1 vacancy. Okay, so what do we do normally on fire, Chief? They send a letter over. Okay, so we still need to have a letter from the volunteer fire department. We have a vacancy for a fire chief. As we announced earlier, 2 vacancies for the 5-town cable advisory committee. We have 3 vacancies for the Historic Commission, 1 vacancy for the Housing Commission, 2 vacancies for the Housing Commission alternate. We have 4 vacancies for the Public Wayer. We have a nomination is being made by his letter from Scott Smith for a sanitation inspector. That's 1 year. Southern Berkshire District Veterans Service Delegate, we have a vacancy for that. Catherine Miller has applied for the Zoning Board of Appeals we just appointed Catherine for the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Is your money on it?
No, let's straighten that out. You've applied for that,
I thought.
Pat? All right, so let's,
I think her appointment expired.
I'm sorry?
I think because Pat's appointment was made late, I think her appointment expires next year.
So should we announce her tonight? Or,
As an alternate?
Yes.
well, okay, so Pat, did you send a letter for the ZBA alternate?
ZBA?
Zoning Board of Appeals?
ZBA,
Yeah.
sorry. I thought I had, but if not, I will.
That would be for the alternate.
Yes.
Right, so we're going to announce you and we'll straighten it out, but I think we just appointed Catherine, so I think we're going to leave that one unannounced. So as ZBA alternate, we have Pat Levine. All right, so those again will be first meeting in July. Next, we have Angela Soros Patel with us tonight from the Nature Conservancy, who is going to speak to us about a conservation restriction for 15 acres of wetlands owned by Emily Fisher and John Alexander on Kelsey Road. I don't know if the letter made it into the packet, but the Conservation Commission took this matter up at its meeting last week and favorably endorsed it. And there was to have been a letter. I'm not sure that it came to us or not, but it's in here. So Angela, please, if you would step up to the microphone and just restate your name and walk us through this so we can take potential action on it.
I have some additional maps too.
Good, thank you.
And I have an extra copy.
Thank you.
As well,
Thank you.
just to provide some additional context.
Thank you for having me at your meeting tonight. My name is Angela Saroy Patel with the Nature Conservancy based at our Sheffield office. So I'm here tonight to present the Fisher-Alexander Conservation Restriction for Town Select Board approval. And so this is a 15-acre parcel that the Nature Conservancy formally signed agreements with Emily Fisher and John Alexander in 2000 to make this a conservation restriction. But that was before I started with the Nature Conservancy. So my understanding of the history of this project was that at the time, the Select Board had put a pause on approving conservation restrictions, and so in lieu of a form of a fully approved conservation restriction, we had signed a conservation restriction with Emily and John, which TNC has held in escrow, and then we recorded an agreement in the Southern Berkshire Registry of Deeds, which basically outlined the terms of that restriction, and it stated to be presented at a later time to the board. And quite a lot of time has passed. We got caught up in a lot of other projects, and we're currently in this phase where we're wrapping up a few of these outstanding conservation restrictions, bringing them before the board. We did the Chrisman conservation restriction, which I believe was about 18 months ago, maybe 2 years ago. That one got approved. This was our next in line, and then we have one more that's kind of part of our legacy of projects that we're just kind of getting the final signatures on. So we have already gotten a pre-approval from the state. They have seen the conservation restriction and they approved it in its original format of the restriction that was agreed to by the Emily Fisher and John Alexander in 2000. And so it doesn't look exactly like the conservation restrictions that you might see today, but they felt that it was satisfactory and have pre-approved it. And so now it is before you for the local approvals. And we have the signature. The official copy is currently with John and Emily. I'm waiting for that to arrive back to me, at which time I would bring that copy that's being notarized, the one copy to be signed for approval. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I do know that after reviewing the Sheffield master plan that this parcel being at the center of the Shinabrook ACEC and identified as a resource area in the Sheffield master plan from 2005, I believe that it's in line with the town's resources and support to continue to support conservation in those areas. I believe it's number one on the recommendations from the natural resource and recreational areas to support, conservation restrictions for landowners in this area.
So Bob, I had a chance to review this as part of the Conservation Commission. I don't know if you have any questions that you would like to ask.
No, I actually took a ride down Kelsey Road today and looked at the parcel, and looks like it would very much qualify for it. So I have no problem with going forward.
Okay, would you like to make a motion then?
I'd like a motion that we approve the conservation restriction for the parcel on Kelsey Road.
Okay, great. And I'll second that motion for the conservation restriction owned by Emily Fisher and John Alexander on Kelsey Road. Is there any further discussion, Bob?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Angela. So we should expect to see the document once it's signed by the owners, and then we'll get that signed and notarized if we need it to as soon as possible.
Wonderful.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being with
your time.
us this evening. All right, the next item is just a grant update. So let me just make sure we've got that. Right, so let me just quickly go through that. Just wanted to let people know that since we last had a grant update, we have received 2 grants. One is a USDA Emergency Rural Health Grant, and that was for $41,500 for a volunteer fire department, a 2022 Chevy Tahoe SSV for a EMS rescue vehicle, and that will be fully equipped with the communication equipment that is needed. This vehicle has been on, I think, the volunteer fire department's list for some time, since the members were using their own trucks to haul some of the gear that's required when they're in a rescue situation. So this is really good. And we talked at a previous meeting about the town did have a match on this, and we're going to just wait and see what happens with the year-end funds, or we had talked about using the Berkshire School funds for this. So we're really glad about this grant being awarded to us. The second grant that we received was the fourth round of the Shared Streets and Spaces grant. This is the third grant under this program that we've received. It was for $32,800, no match, and this will fund a John Deere subcompact tractor, which will have a number of accessories will be used for mowing in smaller areas than our normal mower, as well as, what would you call that, a little bit of a front loader so it can do sidewalks, and just kind of a general utility vehicle. And also we requested 6 bike racks for either the library, the town, or the covered bridge. They will be spread out over those 3 areas, and again, there was no match required for this grant. I just want to give people an update, and I checked on with Nadine on this, who chairs this committee on the Housing Production Plan Committee. They have been working on that, and they are expecting a draft by late June, which is basically another week, after which they're going to go ahead and review that, make any corrections they need to, and then it will go to both the Planning Board and the Select Board for review and approval. At that point, it will go off to the Commonwealth for comments and either acceptance or return. And in the meantime, we, working with BRPC did the work, most of the work on this. They have gone ahead and applied for a state planning assistance grant, which would continue the effort on the affordable housing production plan after the plan is approved by the state, and we should know about that sometime in August. Just want to also let you know that finally the state finished the contract on police body-worn cameras, and we should be getting moving on that very soon. We've been waiting for almost 8 months on that contract, but that just needs to be done by October. And we're also working on the sidewalk repairs and marking the railroad crossings under the complete streets, the capital improvement plan, the transfer station. We've got a couple of programs there, and also moving forward with the Grit Freedom Chair. That has taken a little bit of a twist with, we're not sure right now where we're going to house that. So this, hopefully by July, we'll be making quite a bit of progress on all of these grants we just discussed. But anyway, that's kind of it for the moment on that. All right, so next we have paving grants that went out to bid. And Jill, this is for County Road, and this is just for County Road, right?
Yes.
Okay, and these were opened by you. Who opened these bids?
Nadine.
Nadine opened the bids. All right, there's always a question with Rhonda wanting to keep proper distance from these bids because she has family that works in, I believe, one of the construction companies. So Selectman Halver opened these bids, and there were 4 bids that were received, ranging from $384,528 from Palmer Paving in Palmer, Massachusetts, to the high of $447,364 from Urvia Atlantic Coast LLC in Northfield, with 2 other bids at $404,000 and some change, and $415,000 and some change. So, Bob, what would you like to do on this bid?
I'd like to accept the bid from Palmer Paving for $384,528.
Okay, I would second that. And is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, let's just go ahead and sign this. Now, this letter has, okay, so Bob, this is the letter awarding the bid. So, this project was approved by Mass DOT for the amount of $321,000 and some change. So, we are going to be using the money left over in our Chapter 90 account to fund this. Is that correct, Jill?
Yes.
Okay. And excellent. This is going to Mass DOT, and then we will sign an approval letter, which is in there. This is asking Mass DOT, because of the fuel charge and also the cost of asphalt, to raise their commitment on this to $400,000. We'll see if Mass DOT will do that. We can just give that to Jill, and at least we're partway there. All right. So we've just already done the letter to Mass DOT to approve an increase for Chapter 90. Okay, so now, Jill, can you help us with the next item, which is discussion, possible action regarding electrical permit fee increases? Okay, so we are going to postpone that to our next meeting. And I think we can go ahead and take up the discussion, possible action regarding a disclosure from a public official, and that is from Nadine Hoover. And basically, we have in front of us, let me make sure that you get that. And basically, this is a request from Nadine that stating that this is a disclosure by a special municipal employee of financial interest in a municipal contract as required by state law. This is from Nadine. She is noting that she is a selectman in a town with a population of 10,000 or fewer people. She is also noting that she is a van driver for the Council on Aging, and she's noting that she's elected. Just going through the paperwork with you, and she has her financial interest in a contract made by a public, by a municipal agency, is that she is has a compensated non-elected position with a municipal agency that is a van driver for the COA, and she is noting that for us, and she is stating in the section that says, what is your financial interest in the municipal contract? She writes, prior to being elected, I was being compensated for van driving via the senior tax work-off program up to a maximum of $1,500 per year as abatement on my real estate taxes. In order to accept the compensation of being a member, because she's a member of the Selectboard, this exemption is needed. She's making a note, what is the financial interest of your immediate family, the total dollar amount of compensation for both positions, that is the Selectboard as well as the van driver, is less than $5,000 per year, and she goes ahead and signs that. And then we have on the following page the opportunity to sign this, and I'm going to ask Bob, what would you like to do with this? Would you like to approve or deny this?
I would like to approve it.
Okay, I will second that. And so, is there any further discussion on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Let's go ahead and I'll just sign this, and let's just give this whole package back to Jill. Okay, and we're finished with that. Thank you, Nadine, for filing that disclosure. We have an update on dry hydrant repairs, and Bob, that is you.
That is me. So, we have several hydrants that have failed, that we're in the process of redoing. Two of them we are changing from a fixed hydrant to basically a bridge hydrant. They'll be able to swing down into the water, be used as a hydrant. When they're not in use, they'll be cradled back up and they rest along top horizontally along the bridge. So you don't have the problem with debris or ice or anything breaking them. They're made out of PVC, there's no drilling or bolting to the bridge structures themselves. It's really quite an ingenious thing. We went around, me and Chief, over to see them. There's a couple in Tokay, Hillsdale, a few other towns around. So they're pretty nice. They look like they should work well for us, and then we also don't have any excavation work or problems with messing around the banks of the brooks or the rivers. So
What bridges?
that would be on Sheffield Egremont Road is one, and 7A Bridge in Ashley Falls is the other one. The other ones are fixed hydrants, the two at the covered bridge and the two down here behind Town Hall. Everything's in place, materials are ordered. We should have those materials hopefully within 4 weeks. It's kind of a bit of a backlog. So in August, we're expecting to be able to go ahead while water's low and replace the 4 hydrants that are in the center of town. Those are the most critical ones we have to date. And that would pretty much exhaust the finances we've set aside at this point. So as we continue, we'll have to go back to town.
You're not gonna do anything with the one
George,
line?
would you do me a favor, please, if you wish to ask a question or make a comment?
George O'Lane, Foley Road. You're not gonna do anything in the one in the Schnaub Brook on Kelsey Road?
Well, right now, that one is still functional.
Yeah,
And it
but-
will be replaced with the bridge.
Well, when the water's down, now it's kind of up out of the water,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I've been told that during dry times it is non-functional, but
Yeah,
it should be replaced when they do the bridge, which I believe the bridge is slated, maybe.
I don't remember which year bridges go out so far,
Right.
but a dry hydrant isn't going to help when there's no water.
Sure.
Right,
Sure.
yeah, so, yeah, we also don't at this moment have the money for it.
No.
And I think there's some concern that the construction of that bridge would interfere potentially, so they're best put together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that is functioning when there is water.
Right.
Right. Any other questions, George?
no,
Okay, so, Bob, with the, thank you, first of all, you've spent yeoman's time on finding a solution that hopefully will be much better for everyone with these two, I call them kind of removable, replaceable structures. With the other 4, do you have any need to go to the Conservation Commission? Are there any conservation issues involved?
I will go back to the Conservation Commission. Martin had done quite a bit of work prior. I will inform them, Conservation Commission, and see if there's any more questions, but it's a fairly clear-cut case of removal and reinstallation. And it's basically a minor bank cut where these pipes will enter the river.
Good. It would be good, I think, to check with Dawn on that as to whether, I don't know how old that paperwork is or anything, but I think it's important for people to realize that whether it's paving a road or putting in something like this, the town follows the same Conservation Commission rules and regs of the Wetlands Protection Act as any citizen is asked to do.
Correct.
All right. Anything more on this, Bob?
No, that's it.
No. Well, this has been a problem that's been hanging around for many, many years. So thank you very much. And we'll probably be back at a next town meeting to ask for more money to redo the next group of of dry hydrants.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you, Bob. We all very much appreciate your work on this. Our next item is action regarding a resignation, and we have a letter of resignation from Malin Parsons. He is resigning from the Cemetery Commission effective June 10th, as he can no longer devote the time necessary to do this volunteer position. He also notes that the lawnmower of the town, the mower that is used for the town cemeteries, is doing damage to the headstones. And I don't know if, and he included a photograph. So, Jill, would you just make sure we forward those photographs in this letter onto the highway department? We may have to look at a small hand mower rather than a riding mower for this situation. I'm not sure what they use at the present time. So what action would you like to take, Bob?
Well, I'd like to accept this letter of resignation and send a letter of thanks. And we will look into the stone repairs.
Okay, great. I will second that. And we thank him for his efforts on part of the town, and particularly the Cemetery Commission. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Let's do our flag policy. Is that?
I don't have anything.
I don't have that. Do you have that, Jill?
I don't. I thought I was going to.
We can hold on that, okay? We can hold on that. All right, so our next item is, we're just kind of circling back on,
What does the flag policy entail?
okay, there was a Supreme Court decision about a month ago, the U.S. Supreme Court, where basically the town of Boston had been allowing flags of different organizations, all different kinds of flags, to be flown on city of Boston flagpoles. A group came forward and requested that their flag be flown, and they were refused. It eventually made it to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court decided that because the city of Boston had this ongoing policy of flying anybody's flags, there was no way they had any reason to deny this group. So what I've done, then we were advised by our lawyers, if you don't have a flag policy, you should. And so I developed a flag policy which the board will review that says basically, which has been the town's case for as long as I can remember, we fly the American flag, we fly the state flag, we fly the town flag, and we fly assorted military flags, the POW, and then the different divisions of the military branches. So when we take up that flag policy at our next meeting, that will be what we'll be discussing.
Is there going to be a hearing on it?
I'm sorry?
Is there going to be a hearing?
We will be taking it up at a regular meeting. We allow people to make comments on things. So if you or the American Legion would like to come forward, you can certainly make comments on that. Okay, we're basically talking about the flag poles that are owned by the town.
Yeah.
Okay, not a private flagpole, just the town flagpoles.
Well, I mean, the reason we did not put a flag on the pole, light pole by the stone store is that the American flag does not fly lower than anybody else's flag. And they got a Ukrainian flag on the pole.
Yes, and you don't fly a flag under the American flag unless you've taken over the country, if I remember correctly.
That's the reason why
Yes.
that's the reason why they're
Yes,
not.
yes. if that policy were to fly and be passed by the board or changed in some way, we would be not having an issue of any flag other than those flags being
Yeah,
flown.
I understand that. I just wanted to explain why we
Yeah.
didn't put a flag there.
Yeah, okay, so that should be on the next meeting, which I think July 5th is a holiday, Monday, so our next meeting will probably be July 6th, Tuesday. So anyone who wants to be here to comment on that can do so, okay?
Would it be possible to get a copy of the...
I'm sorry, George, if you go there, people can't hear you from
Would it be
CTSB.
possible to get a copy of that prior to the meeting?
Could George come in just to town hall? Yeah, again, Wednesday's closed, but come in on Thursday or Friday or any time before that meeting and we'll get that for you, okay? So we're going to put a hold on that. We had sent a letter to Mass DOT because we had received concerns regarding speeding on 7A, particularly in the village area, and then they paved the road. And from what at least one resident says down there, the speeding has gone up. So we just received a return letter on June 8th from Mass DOT Region 1. They're always very responsive to us, and we had asked them basically at Bob's suggestion, let them figure out what needs to be done, and some signage in the area of slow children, etc., which I thought was good. So they have gone ahead and an existing passing zone along the first half mile north of the state line that's coming into Ashley Falls will be painted as a double yellow to indicate no passing, and that should be completed in June. I don't know if that has been or not. They're going to install additional children warning signs and replaced a faded children's sign in this area. That should also be done in June, and then they're going to investigate whether the existing 45 mile an hour between the state line and the village center is an appropriate speed. That will take a little bit longer. In the meantime, and I don't know if that made it into our packets, but I had received a letter of concern. Bob, do you have that email? I had received an email of concern regarding continued speeding, and so I had gone ahead as the chair and put this on the agenda for further discussion. And also, we just, it's not on the agenda, but we just almost had an accident on 7 by Berkshire School Road and the crosswalk, again, where we had a fatality by the library in Staveley House a couple of years ago. We had an accident there last week. So I think what I would like to do is just have the board think about those issues, okay? And since we have a member absent tonight, we'll pick it up at the next meeting, all right? I know I've talked to the chief, and maybe, Bob, if you have time, you might want to also about those 2 areas. I know he's sending someone down as often as he can, given our shortage of police officers, to the village area. And also, they do have, when they can, someone to meet the bus. It has to do with the bus, and people just go around the bus, the school bus, which is absurd to think about. But we just have 2 areas, I think, that we need to have a little bit more attention on. So let's think about that. You can have this if you want, Bob, okay? And we will pick this up at our next meeting. So let's add 7, if you would, Jill, to our next agenda. We'll do 7A and 7, and we'll move that over. I don't have any letter regarding the state budget, so we're going to pass over that. And then our next one was discussion, possible action regarding the use of the opioid funds. And we talked about this at our last working session, and so I volunteered to draft a letter. Just as background, there's been the opioid settlements. Martin Mitzoff took the lead on this when he was on the Selectboard, and I think it was almost 3 years, almost the whole time that he was on the board, followed and filled out all the paperwork he needed. And that has meant that Sheffield is in line for some settlement funds. I think the first group was $13,000. There's more money to come. We have no idea how much is involved. There's also, we have an email from the Health Collaborative inviting us, or I guess it's from our representative Smitty, inviting us to a virtual meeting this Friday, I believe it is, to talk about this and the settlement and what money can be used for, etc. The Health Collaborative is also in this. And we just kind of, Bob, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the letter. Nope, okay. Well, then we're going to postpone this too till our next meeting, whether it's working or otherwise. But I think basically the consensus of what came out of that meeting was the Selectboard is going to take charge of these funds, whatever they turn out to be. We're going to set up a separate account so they are only used for this type of action. At our meeting, we discussed that we need to discern our own town needs. That's being done, and help me with this, Bob, with a discussion with the fire chief and with the police chief, and also with the school district, because they have been requesting assistance for I guess I'd say mental health counseling after hours for over a year. And until we have a chance to do that, we're not in a position to say how we would use the funds or whether the funds we would be willing to pool them for a larger project. So we're not saying no, we're just not saying yes. And this letter, or a letter similar, would go to the Health Collaborative, Southern Berkshire Health Collaborative, with a copy to Rep. Smitty and also the Sheffield Board of Health, which we would be in contact as this goes forward. Now, Pat, you had your hand up, please.
Thank you.
Pat Lean, 261 East Main Street, Chair of the Sheffield Board of Health. I would like to, I had actually invited Gary Pratt, who is chair of the South County Recovery Center, to come and talk about that facility and its goals and objectives. I didn't get that arranged for this meeting, and I would hope that the board would be willing to have him come perhaps at the next meeting if I can arrange that, and just give you an understanding of what that larger project might be, so that you can see how it may fit into Sheffield's needs.
Sure, just arrange that with Rhonda, and I'll let her know how much time, 10 or 15 minutes that he needs.
Right.
Yeah, but still, that would go into the
Your
discussion, and at least
right.
one of us, either Rhonda or one of the board members, is going to be on this Friday Zoom
Good.
call. But
Good.
we need to assess our own needs first, and we need to
Absolutely.
find out how much money we're talking about, because other than that first initial distribution, I don't know if anybody has any idea.
No, there is a chart of it, and it's my understanding from having looked at it that it's essentially that same amount. You'll get more than one payment this year because it actually started a year ago. There'll be another payment. You should have gotten one in June, or will get one in June. There'll be another one in July. And then going forward for another 14 or 15 years, roughly the same amount of money coming annually.
So from what you understand, an annual payment of about, I'm just going to say $14,000.
Right.
Okay, well, that's good. 14 times 14, we can do that.
Yeah.
And that would give us an idea of, say, for instance, I don't know, Bob, if you have any knowledge of how our Narcan is funded?
It's from the state, and there's no cost to it.
Okay, good, and I don't know how long that's going to go on. I know we've had at least one incident where one of our rescue personnel was contaminated with, I think it was fentanyl, I'm not sure, but it was one of the policemen, I think it was. So we need to find out if there's any equipment or any, I don't know how they decontaminate themselves. So we need to find those things out, and that's what we're working on. We need to be equipped first
Right.
here.
Right.
Okay, well, thank you for that information, and just schedule that with Rhonda, okay? Wonderful, thank you, Pat. So, anything else on that, Bob?
No, that's pretty much covers it all.
Okay, so we'll take that letter up at our next meeting. All right, so the last thing I wanted to bring up, and this has kind of just come to my attention, there's been a lot of work on something called microtransit, and I don't know, this is very sort of iffy about what I'm talking about, but I'm looking for some direction. Great Barrington has put together under the auspices of Great Barrington, there's kind of a Southern Berkshire Regional group. It's not the Berkshire Regional Transit Authority. It's kind of a group of member towns, of which Egremont, Stockbridge, Great Barrington, and Sheffield belong, to kind of look at our regional needs. As anybody knows, we have no bus service down here. Without the Council on Aging van, we'd have nothing for any of our population. So one of the people who is involved with that, Tate Coleman, has gone ahead and gotten a state grant to fund a microtransit system on a pilot program, and it's really rideshare demand, something like Lyft or Uber, but it is run by a community organization. It is open to someone of any age. You don't have to have a certain age or disability requirements. You could be a teenager looking to get to a job during the summer and you can't drive because you don't have your license. So they have also been earmarked for $200,000 additional through the works of our Representative Smitty, and that is now awaiting the governor's signature or veto. With the increased funding that's possible, they feel that if that comes through, they can expand this program. And Stockbridge is in it, Great Barrington is in the pilot, and Egremont, and they have asked Sheffield whether on a tentative basis we would be interested in exploring this further. So that's kind of what tonight is all about. It is likely, depending on how this would go forward, that we would be asked to make a contribution of up to $5,000, but with this extra money, I don't know if anybody's going to be asked to make any contributions. So I kind of wanted to bring it to the board and see if we wanted to say we were interested. No commitment of money, just let's see how this might play out. There's a fair amount of work that has to be done. I don't know how our senior center or that van would play in. There's a lot we don't know. So, what do you think?
I think it's well worth looking into. It definitely may have a good purpose for South County, and I believe, we need to find more details and more interested in it, but I think it's well worth looking into.
Okay, so would I be correct in going back and saying that we are interested? We understand there might be a financial commitment of up to $5,000, but at this point, we can't say, at this point, we want to find out more details and we're interested.
Correct.
We're good on that?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So we'll do that. Can we make that a motion?
So moved.
I'll second that. And any further discussion? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Bob, board items.
I have nothing.
I have none either. Jill, do you have any items, or do you know if Rhonda has any items? All right, public comments? We'll go with Pat first. Her hand was up first.
Thank you again from the Board of Health. I just received a shipment of about 500 COVID test kits that are 2 tests to a box. They will be distributed through the senior center and through the library. They will be available at the food pantry. Anyone who wishes to have one can go and get one. There are no limits in terms of age, income, whatever. They're simply available for the community and should be used by the community. They will be available starting Monday, giving those entities a chance to have them and put the stickers on the boxes which talk about when the actual expiration date is on those kits, not what's printed on them.
Okay,
So
great.
we're really happy to have that from the state and make it available to the community.
Pat, if someone comes in, is it a limit of one box?
Well, we've only got 520 something. So I would say that would be best. I mean, obviously, they may go to place 1, place 2, and end up with more than one. But I hope that we're all concerned about our fellow citizens and not try and get 15 or 20. I mean, if you have a family and many people in your family, yes, it would be reasonable to ask for more than one.
Okay.
But do be reasonable about that.
Great, thank you. You got a bunch of other COVID-related equipment, didn't you, recently? Some masks?
Oh, yeah, and those have been distributed as well.
Yes, so we want to thank
Yep.
you for your efforts.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'm getting that. All right, wonderful. George?
Yeah, I just wondered what the status of the 5G,
Oh, George, ask me in 6 months, okay?
because they're already putting in taller poles.
But do we know that they're putting in 5G?
No, I can't say that, but it looks to me like it's preparatory work.
Okay.
Because the poles are a good 3 foot taller than what's up there now.
Okay.
And some of the poles that they're replacing are not bad poles.
So if you have any opportunity to find out from whoever's putting the poles up, it's either National Grid or Verizon, what those poles are for, some of the pole replacements, and we will ask the next time somebody comes to a hearing here what those poles are being replaced for. I have been told because they basically cannot carry any more wire on them, okay? I have an awful lot on my plate, and to be honest, the 5G is not at the top, and I have not heard, but I will start making some inquiries. 5G is going to come up, in my view, the same way it's going to have come up Route 7. We have no control over Route 7 because it's a state, but I will call Mass DOT and find out if they have received any inquiries on 5G. All right. I'll also make some inquiries into Connecticut as to whether they have any 5G, and if I get yes, then I will move it up on my priority list.
Because the planning board had a bylaw well in the works, and
Yes, and it was declared illegal by legal counsel, so that is a moot issue. Okay,
Right.
so we can't take that forward because you can't do what the planning board wanted to do to 5G the way that you can do to a cellular tower or Verizon or anyone trying to provide cellular service. It's a whole different ballgame. Okay, thank you. If you find anything out, let me know, please, and after I make my inquiries, I will let you know what I find out. Okay? Is there anything else? All right, then I will thank everyone for joining us tonight and viewers for watching. And we have a motion to adjourn. I will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone.